welcome. Welcome to the QED-C Quantum Marketplace, Network Security Post-Quantum 2. I'm Mark Whippich. I've hosted this for 3.5 years. Now I'm handing the baton to Saeed, Pegahan, and I'm gonna. So what is the Quantum Marketplace? It's a place where members of QED-C can raise brand awareness, facilitate collaboration, deals, and partnerships. It's really with an emphasis on business and the focus of commercialization in quantum and the associated ecosystem. And with that, I'm not going to keep going on and on here. Saeed, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to anyone joining from Europe to this session. I'm very excited for this panel and all the panelists that we have today focusing on network security post-quantum, the second session. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Saeed Pegahan. I'm an application scientist at Toptica Photonics. Toptica is a laser manufacturing company headquartered based in Munich, and I'm headquartered in the US, Rochester, New York. We're basically focusing on quantum applications and all various areas in the quantum ecosystem, quantum computing and networking. And I was selected as enabling technology tag last year, and that's where I've been helping QED-C for various activities. And this is the first time supporting in a quantum marketplace on this session. Very excited for today's agenda, and very briefly, before handing it to our panelists, I wanted to provide a few motivation behind the session for today, and we will take it from there. About the quantum marketplace, as Mark mentioned, many of you are already familiar, maybe through YouTube channel, or QED-C itself is a platform that basically facilitates collaboration and partnership in quantum technology area, and there where you can find various topics from both hardware and software in quantum ecosystems that you can find both the recording session, both live from YouTube channel and also in a QED-C website. I wanted to provide a quick reminder for today. So presentations format are in a 5-minute segment. So every presenter will provide their presentations, and especially related to the PQC, QKD, and quantum networking focus. Please write your questions in the chat. The question will be addressed after the presentations are over, which will be around 30 minutes, we believe. Session will be recorded live, and panelists, please turn on your camera during a Q&A while presenting your slides and also answering your questions. And when you are done with the presentation, feel free to turn off your camera. And for all other participants during Q&A, when we are addressing your question, please introduce yourself and then ask your questions if you prefer to be unmuted. Otherwise, we will just address your question over chat. So what's the motivation behind this panel today? As you may know, quantum computer with extraordinary computational capabilities pose significant threat to conventional encryptions such as RSA, digital infrastructure, and cloud security. And the solution basically is to implement in a standard quantum-resistant cryptography and protocols that is crucial to mitigate these threats. And there have been various efforts in this area, from development of post-quantum cryptography algorithm resistant to these quantum attacks, advancement of QKD for secure communication using quantum mechanics and quantum physics principles, hybrid cryptography solutions, and the next generation of quantum random generation, and whatnot. So our panelists will address these topics in more depth. So I don't want to take too much of the time. This is just the main important problems that currently we are facing in the quantum ecosystems, and both hardware and software companies are heavily investing on this and addressing it. Wanted to just bring it up what NIST recently released in terms of the post-quantum cryptography standard, and you can find more detail in a quantum government website. And the NIST finalized its principal set of encryption algorithm designed to tolerate and withstand cybersecurity attacks from quantum computers. And this new algorithm from NIST PQC standard are ready to immediately be used and integrated, which is based on some mathematical integrations and very crucial in this field. So without further ado, I wanted to introduce our panelists. So our first panelist today is Roy Stefan from Quantinuum. He's a senior solution architecture. And I'm going to stop sharing while provide a short bio on Roy's background. Roy, feel free to share your screen. So Roy Stefan is a security expert and entrepreneur who has built security product companies and work for AWS as a global tech leader for security partner. He's now lead solution architecture in America for Quantinuum security product, where he helps companies improve security using the power of quantum computing. Go ahead, Roy.
Thank you, Saeed. So I'm talking today about Quantinuum. We're the largest independent quantum computer company in the world. We have over 200 quantum PhDs on staff, and this growing company has a large portfolio of products created by our quantum computers. So today we're talking about quantum randomness from our security product called Quantum Origin. Just to put it in perspective, this is sort of where we fit in that quantum supply chain for security. First, you have quantum key distribution. Now that requires specialized quantum networks. There's a bunch of people on the panel today that are going to be talking about that in a little bit. We also have quantum resistant algorithms as a part of this quantum supply chain. And those are like the NIST PQC algorithms that Saeed was just talking about. Now those they don't require a quantum computer to implement it or to create these algorithms. So it's a completely classical solution to some of the upcoming quantum threats around algorithms. But these algorithms don't cover anything about a randomness weakness. They don't cover anything about weak PKI keys. They're entirely focused on the algorithms. Now that brings us to the third area here, this foundational provable randomness. That's what I'm going to cover today. And this is really about harnessing the power of the quantum computer to create provable randomness for the first time, and then being able to leverage that in classical environments to harden cryptographic keys and make stronger security up the whole stack, classical computers and classical networking. So let's do a little bit of a refresher on why randomness is so important. If you have weak randomness at the foundation, then you get predictable encryption, and that's really a bad thing. Because if encryption is predictable, then it's not providing any privacy or protection. Therefore, you don't have any security up the whole stack of solutions, from VPNs to cryptocurrency, zero trust network access. None of these security initiatives will actually have any protection or privacy if you have weak randomness. And as it turns out, detecting weak randomness is actually very difficult. For instance, these 3 attacks on weak randomness took about a decade each to finally discover them. Now, why? Why is because these attacks often happen in communications as they pass outside of your protected network or enclaves. So they don't show up in your logs. They're not protected by your firewalls, your filters, and even NIST 800-90B health checks, which are very good at detecting a complete lack of randomness. They're not able to prove that something is strong randomness because statistical analytics are unable to prove that in a classical environment and classical networks. So how do we solve this problem of weak randomness by using a quantum computer? First, we create a quantum seed by using our quantum computer and a series of Bell tests to create provable randomness. Now, I want to say it again, this is not possible with classical computers. So provable randomness is a new capability that quantum computers bring to the classical security world to help all of our existing cryptographic algorithms. So next, we package this quantum seed as a simple software install called Quantum Origin. And that can go into any classical operating systems such as Windows or Linux, or even RTOS systems like Zephyr. And ultimately, this software acts as a turbo boost to strengthen the local randomness by removing bias. And that protects against attacks on weak randomness, which we just saw on the last few slides. So let me say this again. Quantum Origin turbo boosts your system to protect against those attacks on weak randomness. So if you look at the right-hand side of this slide, you see that we convert any random number generator to a quantum random number generator just with a simple software install. And it's easy to install on servers and clients, even in the cloud and virtual machines. And there's no networking requirements. So this is applicable and it works in IoT environments like the energy sector. It works in military deployments. We've even deployed it to the International Space Station. And there's no special hardware requirements. So that just simplifies all the logistics of getting this extra level of security out of your randomness and your PKI stack. So next I want to drill into what does this really look like if you installed it on one of your machines in your network? Okay, so first we're pulling from your local randomness. And this can be any randomness available on your existing machines, such as RDC, CPU jitter, even a lava lamp. We really don't care what the randomness is. Even if it's weak randomness, we can significantly strengthen that randomness to protect against these types of attacks. In fact, we assume that your existing infrastructure has weak randomness because there's no way to prove how strong it is in classical computers and classical environments. And our software uses a randomness extractor powered by our quantum seed to remove bias and create provable randomness. And the result is really stronger randomness that protects against attacks on weak randomness. It's actually 10 to the 75 times stronger than NIST's full entropy. And that's the number 10 with 75 zeros after it. So it's really significant. And just a reminder, why is stronger randomness better? I bring us back to this slide that I covered a little bit earlier. But now, thanks to quantum computing, we have provably strong randomness as the foundation of our security stack. And this turbo-boosted randomness leads to hardened keys at the crypto level and delivers stronger security up the whole stack to your network security, authentication processes, and other systems that rely on cryptographic encryption for privacy. So overall, this is the power that we can bring with our Quantum Origin product. And that's all I had to present today. So thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to your questions. Saeed?
Thank you so much, Roy. We appreciate the talk. I'm gonna pass it to Janet. I have a few questions, but I will keep it for during Q&A session. Janet, please feel free to share your screen. Janet leads EPB Strategic Initiative Business Unit, focusing on innovation sustainability and community impact. With 20 years in energy sector, she previously served as the Chief Strategy Officer at 3 County Electronic Corporate. She holds a degree in Electrical Engineering and Business Administration, along with multiple certificates. Her work has earned recognition for her leadership and community contribution, including serving as the President of Women International Network of Utility Professional. Without further ado, stage is yours, Janet.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank QED-C, Mark Whitbitch, and our moderator, Saeed, for the opportunity to share the EPB story in the quantum space. And also here with me is Patrick Swingle from Qubitekk, who will be joining me later in the Q&A segment. So EPB has a history of innovation since we were established back in 1935. And in the beginning, we operated as a traditional electric utility. Then in the late 1990s, we decided that we could do more to live up to our mission of enhancing the quality of life for our community. So that drove us to begin a multi-year planning process with the goal of implementing a highly automated smart grid electric system. We envisioned a system that could automatically reroute power to minimize the impact of outages within seconds. And to do that, we needed to deploy thousands of connected devices across our service territory so that we could, but we needed a way for these devices to communicate with each other and with us. So that led us to build a community-wide fiber optic network in 2008 to connect smart switches to communicate instantly. And that has helped us reduce outages by up to 55% on an annual basis. And since then, we kept Chattanooga on the cutting edge of innovation by continuing to provide the world's fastest internet by launching the first community-wide gig-speed internet in 2010. In addition to being the first to launch a community-wide gig speed internet, we were the first to launch 10 gig in 2015 and 25 gig services in 2022. Once again, to keep Chattanooga on the cutting edge of innovation, we used our fiber optic expertise to launch the nation's first commercially available quantum network in 2022. Now, prior to building our network, we had the opportunity to work with Qubitekk, Oak Ridge National Lab, and Los Alamos National Lab on a DOE's quantum key distribution project that was proven very successful. And it led us to numerous recognitions and awards, including the R&D 100 and the Edison Gold Award. So as you can see here in the red box, this is where our current network is today. We have one control center that connects 2 data centers to 2 different locations, or into 2 different locations in downtown Chattanooga. And each of our data center has 2 active user nodes. But as you can see outside of the red box, that we have a lot of capability to expand our network. Now, our target client for our network includes academia, national labs, and companies, especially startups in the quantum industry. Our network is designed for ease of use as plug and play for companies to test their technologies' interoperability for commercialization and standardization. This is important for startups because they can have access to a commercially available network without the significant cost to build their own network. We do not access or retain any of our clients' data, and any product that they invent during the testing is theirs to keep. We do not have IP claims to it. Our network offers sources, detectors, coherence control, along with other electronics and software. Our network has the flexibility to be reconfigured for each client, which allows them to pick and choose which components they need to run their test. So I'd like to quickly share an example of how our network was utilized by a client. We had a company from New York that wanted to test one of their commercially available products, the Automatic Polarization Compensator, or APC. Their goal was to test their APC on a network that has a different characteristics than their network in New York. Well, one of the biggest difference is that their New York network is aerial and our network is buried underground. This helps them ensure that their product can work in different environment and is interoperable with other network architecture. Now, each one of our client can choose which subscription package works best for them. They can decide which type of access they need, whether it's temporary use of an active node or a more permanent setup. They can also choose how long they want to access our network, whether it's just a few hours or a prepaid package for future uses. With trillions of dollars expected to be invested in this new sector, we're positioning our community for investment as companies choose where to locate quantum operations and manufacturing in the future. So if you're interested in learning about our quantum network, please feel free to contact Kirk Mecklemore, who is our business development manager. His contact information is provided here. And again, thank you to QED-C for the opportunity to present today, and thank you to all the audience listening here.
Thank you so much, Janet, for a wonderful talk. I'm going to pass it to our next speaker, Tommaso Occhipinti. Feel free to share your slides, Tommaso. Tommaso is a co-founder and CEO of QTI SRL, Italy's first quantum communication company specializing in QKD system for secure digital communication in industry, government, and military sector. He's also founded OE Engineering SRL, focusing on optoelectronic solution and other companies. And today he want to talk about a company overview on quantum telecom and networking. Take it away, Tommaso.
Thank you, Saeed. So let's speak about a European company, particularly an Italian one. So it's QTI, Quantum Telecommunication Italy. So the name gives you the idea of what we do. Essentially, we design and produce quantum key distribution systems for telecom operators, private companies, government, defense, many market verticals. We think that one of the most important market segment of this kind of things is, for example, the critical infrastructure and the finance market. But coming back to the company, you see a map of Italy here in this slide. showing that we are present essentially in 2 sites where we have the quarter and the production in Florence, but in Rome we have marketing and business development, and our shareholding is the largest telecom operator in Italy, which is TIM, through the control company TLC. We are quite a young company, basically R&D based, and we do a lot of work also on the R&D stuff, because apart the standard components and product, we think that for this kind of market we still have to all work together. This is why we are in this beautiful panel, just to try to collaborate not only in Europe but also in the United States around the world. On this picture, in this slide, you see our products. So we have in the top part of the picture our key distribution machine that is called QED-X. It's a discrete variable quantum key distribution system based on BB84. We do make time-bin encoding, and it is absolutely pluggable to telco-grade systems, both on dedicated fibers or to conventional and already turned on fiber optical cables where there's, for example, WDM traffic. So we do work in WDM. We work also in complex network because we have the possibility to integrate the so-called quantum key management entity, which is this box in the middle. Let me do this one. And this system is totally compatible with the ETSI standards regarding the QKD, and also the Cisco SCIP. We of course can work with the other vendors, so demonstrating also the compatibility of this kind of things with the other QKD vendors. We have also the possibility to integrate the software-defined network capabilities on all these kind of machines. Just to show you what we have done, just a slide. You see that we work recently in the G7. Maybe someone of you knows that this is the year of Italy as G7 nation. So we made a quantum key distribution link between 2 places of the G7 last summer, sorry. But just coming back to more telecom TLC, let's say, word, we can mention something that we have done in Athens recently, where we made a QKD link between 2 data centers in the city of Athens in Greece. And there we were working inside a man ring. We made also a lot of work and jobs with the defense in Europe, but we can say also that we have done in the United States territory. So, for example, in 2023, we worked with the US Air Force for an experimental demonstration that was a very good success in the desert in Arizona. We of course work with all the European environment of the EuroQCI. I mean, it's a very huge, big project in Europe, but probably the most important things that we have done is that we installed commercial grade system in all these places that you see in the right part, in the bottom right of the slide, of this slide. So essentially I finished. I would like to just to say that we see a perfect interoperability and complementation between post-quantum cryptography algorithms and quantum key distribution. And we are looking really fostering technological integration with other partners in around the world. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tommaso. Appreciate that. And I also appreciate all panelists exactly right on time. So appreciate the timing as well. Our next speaker is Kenny Hipsch. He's a software engineer director with diverse background in software development and management. Since September 2020, Kenny has been leading software development and overseeing production software at Qrypt. His expertise span the defense industry and development of quantum entropy sources, showcasing a strong foundation in cutting-edge technology and leadership in complex engineering projects. Today, we want to talk about the only quantum number generator design and manufacturer in the United States. Go ahead, Kenny.
I work at Qrypt, which is another quantum random generator company. And our differentiator in this industry is that we are designed and manufactured in the United States. So our founders come from the CIA and have a mission to prioritize national security and eventually sell back to the government. So this is where we differentiate ourselves. Our licenses are, our QRNG technology is licensed from Oak Ridge and Los Alamos National Labs. So all designed and manufactured in association with United States labs. So the goal of this presentation is I actually want to explain to you a little bit of background on how our company's evolved over the past year. So we were founded in 2017, very much research and development. We have two pieces of intellectual property. We have our QRNG, and we have a protocol, a software-based protocol that attempts to add harvest now, decrypt later protection to PKI. Well, from 2017 till about a year or two ago, we were developing these, but we're having a lot of trouble figuring out how to take it and actually provide value to users because it was very niche. It was difficult to consume. It came in an SDK, and you can't really take that and give it to somebody and say, oh, go protect your system with this SDK. So it was very difficult to find out how to actually get this out to people. Well, lucky for us, over the past couple of years, there's been a lot of advancement in standardization, and we have figured out how to, package this up in a standard and get it out to people that way, and then they'll be able to use it. So advancements in standardization have really helped us find product market fit and adapt our products so that we can provide value, tangible value to people. So talking about random as a building block for all of this, I think Roy from Quantinuum did an excellent job of explaining it and completely agree with everything he says. I'm going to add to that and say that in addition to worries about the quality of the random, there's also worries about entropy starvation. So you see this a lot in IoT devices or, hardware that just isn't good at generating high quality random. There's a very, very famous study from Keyfactor that we love to quote that basically scraped a bunch of public keys from IoT devices and found like 1 in 172 share prime factors. So, there is out there a vulnerability with random now, and due to quality and not having enough of it. And this industry, this QRNG industry with Quantinuum, with Qrypt, with all these other vendors are going to be able to solve a lot of problems. And I think working together, the rising tide, raises all ships. So I think we're kind of all in this together. And when these vulnerabilities start to be found, there's going to be more demand for random than there's vendors going to be out there to be able to supply. So we have actually been collaborating with some other vendors, Quantinuum being one of them, and other QRNG vendors led by Palo Alto to establish a standard for how to consume entropy. And the result of this is we're calling it an open API. It is going to be a REST API to consume entropy, and all the vendors will implement it so that the users aren't going to have vendor lock-in. They're not going to have to worry about if I use Qrypt and then a flaw is found that I can't pivot to another company, or if I'm using company Y and who's a startup and they're not around in 2 years, am I, locked in and in trouble? Well, having the standard is going to be great to reduce that risk. And then we're hoping that a lot of the technologies that random will be integrated into, think of like firewalls, HSMs, all, any technology that could benefit from random, we'll see that there's a standard and start building first-class integrations for it. So we serve our entropy in 3 ways, starting at the right and working to the left. We have our QRNG. So this is a PCI card. This technology is licensed from Los Alamos National Lab, and it plugs into a server and gives you about 1.7 gigabits of condition random. For people that don't want to take one of these and plug it into a server, we basically put it into a server for you, and we implement a nice that open REST API so that you can access it via REST within your your data center. I think that most people that are worried about entropy quality are going to want to deploy QRNGs locally within their data center. They're not going to pull it over the public internet, and that's what NIST is suggesting. But we also have this as a SaaS. So, over the public internet, hit our API and get some random down. I actually see the SaaS being valuable for maybe non-cryptographic purposes. Think about like in gaming, procedural generation of, random environments or Monte Carlo simulations where it's okay to pull the random over the public internet and not have a security flaw. I think that's where we'll see use of our SaaS in the future. Our other product is digital QKD. So you heard some vendors talking about QKD, and let me just say that we are big believers in QKD. We see the progress that's been made overseas and think that is coming to the United States. So how can we help a organization, implement QKD? Well, we know that QKD devices can be expensive. They can be, they are growing in maturity, and we want to figure out a way to allow people to start to test QKD now with a software implementation. So basically, a software that implements the same software API so that they can test, they can grow from it, and then they can decide, okay, I'm ready to switch this digital QKD for actual, to use QKD and quantum phenomenon. Now, when they do that, there's going to be still gaps that QKD cannot overcome, such as disimplementations. So organizations are going to need an alternative to cross-country connections. And they're going to need some kind of software that implements the same API, but uses classical mechanisms to exchange private data. So this is where our BLAST protocol comes in, which is, as I was explaining, a layer of harvest now, decrypt later protection on top of PKI. So our digital
Kenny, sorry to interrupt. The time is over. Could you mind? I have 30 seconds to finish before we pass to the next speaker.
Absolutely. Sorry for running over. I can ramble forever. If you want to talk more about this to me, I would love to. Feel free to reach out. My name's Kenny Hapsch, and I'm Qrypt.com. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Kenny. Our next speaker is Richo Chanakeshava. Richo is a product leader specializing in application security with expertise in cryptography at Palo Alto Network. She spearhead SLS and TLS encryption and decryption solutions that are fundamental to advance the threat detection and inspection. Drawing from extensive experience at Cisco and A10 Network, she has driven cutting-edge products in a cloud-native loading balancing, API gateway, and web security for large enterprise and data science environment. And today she will be talking about post-quantum security for our digital way of life. Take it away, Richo.
Thank you, Saeed. Good morning, everyone. I am Richa Chennakeshwar, co-leading the Post-Quantum Security Initiative here at Palo Alto Networks. Let's start with a broad highlight of our portfolio. Strata is our network security solutions. We deliver these solutions in the form factor of hardware, VM, as well as our secure access service edge. This is where our solutions are for securing organizations' users as well as data. Prisma Cloud is part of our cloud security platform for every workload or application in the cloud. It also automates compliance. Cortex is our operations platform. This is where we are leveraging our AI-powered threat intelligence to defend and detect real-time threats. Underpinning all of this is our Unit 42 team of threat researchers who bring in that threat intelligence, who are also advisors to our customers and work real time to mitigate some of the most sophisticated cyber threats. We are the only company in cybersecurity to be recognized in 9 different categories, to be the leaders on Gartner's Magic Quadrant for our next generation firewall 11 times. We've also been recognized to be the leaders in Zero Trust by Forrester. We have over 4,000 partner engineers globally supporting our customers to bring solutions to their needs. Our Strata network security platform is our single pane solution, which integrates most of our products today, which brings in that unified management and operations. It also enables threat detection and real-time security. It's a single sensor that we leverage through our next generation firewall, feeding up information to our platform for real-time security inspection and threat mitigation. What's unique about our platform approach is that we are bringing in best-of-breed products integrated to a single platform. So this makes it a lot more easier to actually mature your security infrastructure. Cyber leaders or security leaders shouldn't have to choose between a best-of-breed or platform approach. So that's what our platformization strategy stands for. In fact, Forrester's work with us revealed that over 176% return on investment in just the first 3 years of customers adopting our platformization. We've had the privilege to serve all 10 of the Fortune 10 companies as our customers. And this has been in across sectors, be it manufacturing, industrial, healthcare, and so on. Now, switching gears and talking about our quantum security strategy, we believe that all quantum solutions should be based on open source libraries and standards. This is extremely critical for interoperability and global adoption. Second, we're working with NIST's NCCOE interoperability labs in order to make sure that solutions that are being built by different vendors can interoperate, can actually support the end-to-end quantum security encryption as required by the industry today. And third, of course, is crypto agility is the bedrock of our foundations, or I should say the foundation to our solutions. So in order to eliminate any kind of security gap, having the strongest cipher available for our customers to leverage is our goal with the third one here. Some of the solutions that we've already released: post-quantum pre-shared key for old legacy hardware that do not have the resources to support PQCs. We've also support PQC VPN hybrid key exchange. We in fact support up to 7 different ciphers from NIST round 4 as well as NIST standards that were announced earlier this year. That's how we are bringing in the crypto agility portion of our solution. For SSL, we actually earlier in 2023 released threat signatures, or IPS signatures, I should say, in order to detect and identify these PQCs, SSL sessions in a customer environment, especially for sanctioned or unsanctioned apps. And so any kind of malicious activity is something that we've been highlighting for the last 2 years. Now, we've enabled hybrid ML-Chem with our enterprise browser, Prisma Access browser. This is to enable our customers to start their quantum migration journey, especially at the user end side of things. Our roadmap is we are introducing integration of QKD with our firewalls. We've tested a solution with multiple vendors out there. Some of them include ID Quantique and Toshiba. Of course, we believe for a very strong and longevity of the most sensitive data, we need to have strong keys. And for strong keys, you need a very strong seed material or a very secure keys seed material. And that coming from a QRNG is what we believe is the next way to go. We worked with 6 other vendors in a consortium of a working group and have come up with a set of standards of API called the Open API. This should be available on our GitHub page not too long from now. And we're working towards proposing this as a standard for global adoption as well. Last is with our quantum safe algorithm PQC SSL proxy solution on our firewall. We are helping customers, especially customers with very large apps infrastructure who cannot really migrate to PQC in the kind of timelines that NIST is recommending, 2030 for PQC adoption and 2035 for complete elimination of asymmetric algorithms. In that kind of timeline, it's going to be challenging for customers. So we've introduced a firewall proxy solution in order to translate PQC to classical for backend applications and making this migration a little bit more easier for our customers. Thank you so much for QED-C for this opportunity, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Richard. I appreciate the great talk. Our last speaker is Mike Wood. Mike, feel free to share your slide. Mike is the Aliro marketing organization, leads the Aliro marketing organization to drive brand awareness and messaging, positioning, corporate strategy, and product marketing. He's an industry veteran with 30 years of experience in marketing, product management, and engineering at companies such as Stratacom, Cisco, Velo Cloud, Versa Network, and more. Mike holds a master's degree of electrical engineering and bachelor in industrial technology. And today he will talk about entanglement-based quantum network. Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Saeed. So Aliro is a well-established company. We've been around for about 5 years. We've got $100 million in contract value in our pipeline. Our software is used to build and scale useful quantum networks along with secure data in transit. We've delivered over 20 times value relative to cost for a specific large customer that we have and a few others. And we've got a team of world-class experts in science, in physics, and security, and in networking. So that's kind of the background on Aliro. The threats that we are noticing out there are one that nation states are beginning to harvest our data, whether it's harvesting public sector, federal, enterprise, telco, we know is in the news quite a bit right now, and being able to decrypt that with quantum computers, either today or in the future. Post-quantum cryptography algorithms are a stopgap, and I'll talk more about why that is. And quantum physics-based security is really the strongest method for providing security out there. So what's the problem? The problem is that classical secure communications all relies still on math-based encryption, whether it's RSA, ECC, Diffie-Hellman, PQC, all these are still math-based encryption algorithms. And ultimately, those keys can be intercepted on, for example, fiber optic cable or copper cables, and copied and then decrypted either at that moment or in the future by things like supercomputers, AI, and ultimately even quantum computers. So what's the solution? The solution is to fight physics with physics. So over that same fiber, I can use a physics-based encryption methodology that literally uses physics and entanglement to provide entangled photons on either end. And I can present keys, enable keys that are presented on both ends of that connection without actually transmitting the keys over that fiber optic cable. And what happens in this case, if there's an attempt to view, copy, intercept, perform a man in the middle on those connections, the integrity of that connection is destroyed and detectable, and both ends of the connection will know that there's tampering that's occurred on that connection. And in other words, this is completely unhackable security, and no amount of computing power will be able to break this. So introduce Aliro quantum networking, unhackable quantum secure communications. The idea here is that we use the same infrastructure that telcos, public sector, clouds, and enterprises are using today, but we bring in and layer in a quantum network into that uses entanglement. It doesn't use prepare and measure. It doesn't use trusted relay points to get expanded distances. It's all based on entanglement. So we're able to share secrets without transmitting those secrets over those connections. We use entangled qubits, which allows us not just to provide a secure methodology, but also interconnectivity of things like quantum computers and quantum sensors, and provide entangled qubits even between networked quantum computers. So very powerful and a multi-purpose design methodology. It's really the modern quantum network and modern quantum networking. So what does Aliro offer? Well, we have the products to design, build, and operate quantum networks with something called AliroNet. It's a full solution product suite. It includes the Aliro simulator, which allows enterprises, telcos, researchers, cloud providers, public sector to actually design and simulate a full quantum network. You can even scale ultimately up to a quantum internet if you're deciding to build that. Aliro Orchestrator is what actually runs the network. It's our software that runs the complete end-to-end infrastructure. And Aliros is the operating system that can run on the actual devices, the quantum network devices. We also have something called Aliro Quick Start. And this is a complete all-encompassing quantum network for 2 or 3 nodes that you can actually roll out and deploy today. And it provides all the software and the hardware needed to operate up to a 3-node network. And of course, we also provide professional services where we can help with all of this. We can build from soup to nuts the complete quantum network and deploy and run it for you. Aliro technology is used for a wide range of applications. Quantum network, entanglement-based quantum networking is really the modern methodology for secure communications. Again, it doesn't rely on prepare and measure. It doesn't rely on trusted relay points, which are a concern in terms of security. Secure communications can be used to generate quantum key generation on either end of a connection for direct secure communications, for things like blind compute access. And these implementations can also be used to network quantum computers with one another to get to that quantum advantage. And along with networking distributed quantum sensors for position, navigation, and timing, and other services. So a few of the engagements that we have, we're working with our friends at EPB, which includes Qrypt and a few other vendors in that network, and we're providing things like visualization control and being able to optimize network resources and operations within that network to be able to run experiments across that network also. We're working with the Air Force Research Lab. In this case, this is public information. They're looking at simulating a network that supports connectivity of heterogeneous quantum computers with one another. So we're working with them and helping them with that. And then also working with Brookhaven National Lab and collaborating with them on blueprints and use cases for specific quantum networks, and looking at actual things like memories, quantum memories within those infrastructures. You can get a hold of us. Our suggestion for next steps for you is design and simulate your own quantum network. It can be simple as 2 nodes or dozens of nodes. We also recommend you deploy a quantum network yourself that can be used to generate keys on either side of the network, can be used for networking of quantum computers and quantum sensors, truly multi-purpose modern network. We suggest that you actually deploy one of these using AliroNet Quick Start. And of course, contact us directly. You can go to our website, you can send us an email, or you can click the Contact Us tab on our website, alirotech.com. Thank you, and Saeed, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mike. It's great to see a nice collaboration already among our panelists, and it shows the importance of both hardware and software in quantum networking and post-security. Appreciate all panelists. We have enough time to address all 3-4 questions, and please make sure you use a question and answer tab in the bottom of the Zoom. And I already see that our panelists are addressing that, so I appreciate it. So make sure you write your question in the chat. Okay, I'm going to share my screen one more time again. Again, thanks again to all panelists. And I'm going to start off with the first question for today. What are the most pressing technological gaps in hardening network against future quantum security attacks? And how should industry and government prioritize investment to close these gaps and accelerate adoption? Mike, I want to start off with you because you just finished your presentation. What is your thought, Mike?
Yeah, this is a great question. I think that I guess first off is that post-quantum cryptography is it's a great model, and these new PQC algorithms and standards should be applied everywhere and anywhere you possibly can. I think to answer this question, the most pressing technological gap in terms of hardening our networks is the idea that PQC is still math-based, and we really don't know whether or not it's probably secure. We're hoping that it is. It looks like it's passed all these tests that we've seen. We know that some original algorithms that came out earlier on were cracked, simply by laptops and things like that. So the concern is once we get into this quantum realm where quantum computers are powerful enough to run things like Shor's algorithm and Grover's algorithm, what are the gaps there? The best way to protect oneself is find the areas where you've got the highest volume of the most sensitive information. So a lot of times it's data center to data center traffic, where I've got primary, secondary data centers, disaster recovery sites, and apply something that's physics-based. Apply entanglement across those connections where you're able to create the most hardened connection possible, that there's no possibility of intercepting information traversing that. And there are no public keys that are exchanged at all in that model. So there's nothing to intercept it, in that case. This might be in the public sector. Certainly we're seeing the federal area, military branches in the US and outside of the US are beginning to apply these methodologies, because a lot of their information is very sensitive, and you're looking at potentially actually sacrificing national secrets and national security in these cases. The second areas that we're seeing are in the enterprise for financial services. They're definitely looking at technologies and evaluating technologies like this. And then telcos are the next biggest thing. We know now I think the latest news I saw in the last 24 hours, there are 8 to 10 telcos in the US alone that have been compromised using this, some of these threats that are out there. So that would be sort of my response to that, Saeed.
Great, Mike. Totally agree. And I wanted to also get other panelists' opinion on this. Janet, what do you think about the most pressing technological gaps?
Yeah, I think Mike said it very well. But I also think too is a lot of security flaws and vulnerability typically kind of comes down to the quality of the system or network. And so cost is a big factor that compromises a lot of the decisions on how companies build their system, which then creates major security risks. So investing in security, from the very start is important because it builds a more resilient system. And sometimes it's hard to predict in the quantum space what the future vulnerabilities might be, but the same principle of pursuing quality engineering is still good, is still a good path. And so, and the other thing too to think about is, I think we always tend to want some kind of magic tool or technology that we can just purchase one time and it'll help us avoid all future attacks. But in reality is we need to continuously maintain and upgrade our system and network to ensure that we protect it from any new risk and attacks.
Certainly, very good feedback, Janet. Ken, what do you think?
Yeah, so both of the panelists said it perfectly. To add a little bit of a different perspective on this, I would say that, whenever there's a lot of today problems that still aren't solved, and I mean, we're still moving off of DES to AES, and if I was prioritizing in my own infrastructure how to, prepare for the threat, I know that there are today threats and tomorrow threats. So I would still focus on preparing and protecting from today threats. But as I do that, I would think about what can I do to protect from the tomorrow threat as well. So if I'm addressing a system that might have a flaw, a PKI system, I might ask myself, is there a way to change this to symmetric key cryptography so I can solve my today problem, but then also be protected from tomorrow? So just maybe a little bit of a change of thought in the way that we're, addressing the near-term fires to help pay dividends down the road.
Certainly, Kenny, very good point. Roy, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think, when people are looking at how to address some of these threats, you need to look at Shor's algorithm as an example of the types of threats that are going to come. So in designing your response, you should have a lot of crypto agility. Once you identify where your cryptography is, think about the fact we had 30 years to address Shor's algorithm, and the next threat may be a 0-day. Especially with quantum computers making as much progress as they are, just because it's going to take us a few years to get to a cryptographically relevant quantum computer for Shor's algorithm, that's not saying there may be other threats that happen sooner than that, which a modern quantum computer might be able to execute or present, or even coming from the AI world. So really having that ability to quickly respond is really important, to be able to update your randomness, your key strength, your algorithms, right? And building that flexibility in. And there are things you can do today, like building it into your acquisition cycle, right? When you're talking to vendors, you're looking at acquiring a new product, you're looking at renewing a contract, tell them that they need to have this roadmap for crypto agility in the next year or the next 18 months, whatever works for your organization, and really communicate to the vendor community how important this is, that you have that flexibility, and they will build it in. And then over the next tech refresh cycle, let's say 3 years, then you can really be better prepared just by sort of enhancing your acquisition process and writing your requirements in a way where you're looking to the future of your to-be system and not just mired in the as-is system. And then we'll be in a state very quickly in the next few years where we can respond to these threats faster than 30 years.
Certainly, great point. Being ready, and similar examples like a standardization they see from Department of Commerce. I think that should be actively be initiatives from government side. Very great point. Tommaso, Richo, do you have anything to add before we move to the next question?
I do agree with my previous panelist. So just to add one point, of course, in QTI, we believe in the physical way of ensuring security, let's say, in the sense that we started from there. We do with the discrete variable. I mean, there's entanglement, there are other techniques, but the point is crypto agility. And what we see and our strategy is to address the networks, to address the physical interconnection, the optical physical interconnection between devices and data centers and whatever, and let PQC algorithms to intercept the traffic of mobile things, or I mean, all the large group of application where the optical network is not possible to apply.
Certainly,
Yeah.
Tommaso. Go ahead, Richo.
Just to add to that, right? We really think that a complementary solution, in fact, QKD, for its relevance in the data center intercommunications and securing with quantum mechanics, securing data, especially sensitive data with high risk, that is an absolutely relevant solution. However, if you're looking at users, public, and their interconnectivity to applications, their everyday communications, their private communications, app to app, device to device, PQC does stand out. So kind of complementing both solutions is going to become key for an entire global adoption or migration. So yeah, that I think every panelist had a very good take on this question. So I just wanted to end with that.
I think that's a really good point. And it's also, you're not going to be able to run quantum physics technology, photonics and things like that on your smartphone or your laptop and things like that. PQC has got to be used there. We do need to think about where the bad actors and nation states are going to focus on the highest return on their investment in terms of where they're going to go after the underbelly of the communications. For example, the telcos we're seeing right now, it looks like they're leveraging lawful intercept, which is a technology that was built into all these voice over IP systems, over a decade ago, and they've extracted and thwarted that. That's where they found that they can get 100% of all the information, all the phone calls and text messages that are going on by doing that. The same thing will happen here. If you can protect, to your point, Richu, that if you can protect actually the connections that have the highest volume of the highest sensitive information first, those are going to be the ones that the bad actors are going to go after. If you can prevent them from getting that, they're probably not going to come after my connection down to my phone, because I don't have enough information there that's valuable to them for the effort that's going to take them to hack that. So great point.
Yeah, and being in cybersecurity, I think we've seen that any new vector introduced is going to be leveraged by the bad actors. So, and bad actors today in the immediate, as Kenny put it, right, the short term perhaps are nation states. But if you look at the next 7 years, bad actors are everywhere. So they are going to start leveraging whatever post-quantum cryptography ciphers that have been introduced and leveraging that for malware, for everyday threats. Right. So having both is going to absolutely require securing, of course, nation state, I should say, government information, sensitive information, healthcare, financial information, as well as securing the end user. We all also need to be migrating at some point.
Very great comments. I would love to stay at this question, but we have 2-3 more questions to go. Very great feedback from all panelists, and appreciate your inputs. The second question, which infrastructure sector should be prioritized right now, meaning as high priority? Would be energy, finance, healthcare, government, DoD, or more? What is your thoughts? So I leave it open floor, feel free to go. And looking forward to hear your thoughts on that.
I think that one of the most important areas is just every nation around the globe, it's their national security. That's probably the most important component to all this. If I can bring down a government's currency, if I can bring down their safety, their national security, kind of all bets are off. So it feels like that's probably the highest order bit in terms of security. And that at Aliro, that's what we're seeing. That's where we're seeing the greatest traction. Secondarily, if I use the Jeffrey Moore model of the bowling pin analogy, that being the lead pin, the second pins are, I think, financial services. We're seeing a tremendous amount of adoption and interest around the globe in the financial services area. And then the second pin at that same area, that same level, would be the telcos. They are absolutely, they see that there's a huge vulnerability here for them, and they've got to stop this gap. We're already seeing this happening. We talked about it earlier. So those would be maybe the top 3, Saeed, that we're seeing.
Certainly, and we kind of touched on that in a previous question. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to hop in and completely agree with Mike from a different perspective. So as I mentioned before, our founders were from the CIA, and when they were operating in the CIA, actually operating overseas, they were using one-time pad cryptography to try to protect from future quantum threats. And that's eventually what they decided, hey, if the intelligence communities are doing this now, private sector is probably going to have to follow along. So that's what got them into this industry. So definitely the worry is with the nation states. And also, when you think about who's going to have the resources to get to a cryptographically relevant quantum computer first, it's going to be, the nation state type of actors. So definitely we believe that government and DoD should be prioritizing this. And we actually see that government and DoD is interested in novel use cases and novel technologies to try to evaluate this. And they're open to, hey, we want to see the standards, but we want to hear your crazy ideas as well. And that's really cool to see. And then definitely highly regulated industries after that, because we can't afford to have our banks hacked. That would be chaos in our country. Same thing with energy and telcos. I mean, that would just be chaos. So definitely the bowling pins, I would say, align with my thoughts with Mike.
Thank you, Kenny. Appreciate it. And any other thoughts from others? So Roy, feel free. Janet, if you want to add to this.
I think those are fantastic answers. I don't have a lot to add.
Thank you. It. As I mentioned, kind of this question when we were also discussing it with Mark, it overlaps and we touch on it, cover it very in depth in a previous question. So I appreciate your feedback. My next question is, how do you certify and prove the future of cryptography solution are indeed working in a post-quantum computing world?
I feel like, sorry, go ahead, Roy.
Thanks. It's a real challenge, right? We manufacture quantum computers, and we recently went through the NIST ESV certification, and they quite frankly, they don't have a way to certify the actions of a quantum computer. It just kind of blew the mind of people when we tried to do that. So we had to come up with some innovative ways in order to get things certified that in a way that customers could increase their trust levels and feel like it was validated. But I think there's a lot of work to be done in terms of the certification in general from a government side. But then also from a practical implementation side, cryptography is always very difficult to validate, right? How do I see if AES is stronger than RSA? I can't just like run a quick tool like I could run to see which database is faster for a particular workload, right? It always comes back to a mathematical analysis. You have to go back to source. You have to go back to where all this came from, and really do a holistic analysis on the implementation as well as the underlying mathematics. And that's really tough for a customer to do, right? If they don't have a whole team of PhD experts. So it is a difficult problem. It's one where I think the governments need to step in as a trusted middle person and provide that analysis and be as open as possible about what algorithms you're using and what mathematics you're using, so that as many eyeballs as possible can evaluate you and contribute to it.
Thanks, Roy. Very great response. And Mike, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think Roy's spot on with that. The one we do a lot of work with NIST, and NIST's approach to PQC, I think, was genius. This idea of which is common for them to take this approach, but to push out the algorithms and just let people beat on them and attempt to hack them and attempt to break them. It's a very open methodology instead of being secretive about everything. And that's how we ended up with the 3 standards that we have now, which so far, knock on wood, seem to be holding up. So I think getting these technologies out there in the wild, as Roy is suggesting, is one of the best approaches to allow people to hack on them and try to break them. And let's figure out what's not working, what's broken. The challenge is that we know that there are individual bad actors or nation states that are developing quantum computers that maybe are powerful enough today to do some of this. We've seen some papers that have come out that have been challenged. There's been holes in them, but you can see what's happening, what's going on with some of these groups that we don't know. Maybe we talked about harvest now, decrypt later. There's a lot of harvesting happening now. We know there's a lot of undersea fiber optic cables that are being maintained by certain groups that may not have the best intentions out there, and information we know is being copied off of these cables. Whether they're in-state, intercontinental, whatever it might be. And what's happening with that is probably being stored. That's the whole idea of harvesting now and then decrypting later. But is decryption happening already? Is it occurring already? Is there a quantum computer out there, or a network of quantum computers that's actually just on the hairy edge of actually being able to decrypt some of this stuff? Some of these nation states are not going to put out a press release when that happens. They'll let you know. You'll find out, when when a secret operative discovers that there's information that's out there that nobody should have. It's a 50-year secret. For example, in the U.S., maybe a federal secret that's out there that's got a 50-year timeline in terms of its top secret shelf life. So.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Tommaso, did you have anything to add to this? Tommaso, Kenny, feel free if you guys have anything to add. Roy and Mike for sure went very in depth, but I'm looking forward to hear your thoughts on this, as this can be a quite challenge, as both of them address that.
So from the perspective of entropy, as Roy was talking about, it's very difficult to also prove the quality of entropy. The statistical tests against it, are pretty old, and they don't do a good job of telling you this entropy is higher quality than that entropy. I think that from that perspective, we should try to figure out better ways to figure out the quality of this entropy, because it's really the building block of a lot of cryptography. Like there's for any algorithm to work, there's this fundamental assumption that the random that's being used is unpredictable, and we're not even good at figuring out if it's predictable or not now. Now, that is a large undertaking, and at some point, somebody's going to figure it out, and then all of us QRNG vendors are going to love to prove that our entropy is better than pseudo-random. But in order to get to that point, like, somebody's going to have to invest a lot of time and money. And I think we're going to have to collaborate on that to make that real. But that, that how do you organize that? How do you get buy-in on that? And it's a large undertaking. So measuring the quality is very difficult in crypto in general. And it's like you just figure out it's not good because somebody breaks it, unfortunately. And that's where the agility piece then comes in as your risk mitigator there.
And just
Certainly,
to add
Kenny.
to what
Go ahead,
just
Richard.
to add to what Kenny was saying is it's also the frequency at which you are testing the quality of the entropy. Are you testing it once a day? Are you testing it every hour? Are you testing it for the bulk of the entropy that you just downloaded from a third-party QRNG device onto your firewall or another vendor device? It's really the frequency that's not been defined. There's some information that's provided in the 800 SP 890B and now C, but not enough. I do agree with what Roy and Kenny are saying. Even for us, when we were trying to implement some of these solutions, how do we test, how do we guarantee the randomness is truly random from a quantum source was something that we dabbled with.
Thank you, Richard. Great point.
Just to add, may I? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Tommaso.
Just to add an additional information, we do have let's say, similar topics regarding the quality of the sources in terms of single photons. You remember that we do make quantum cryptography, quantum key distribution with single photons, not polarized, but time being. And in that case, I mean, we know perfectly how to do that. But in Europe, for example, there are some public organizations that are discussing how to measure truly if the entire process of Alice creation of the single photon is an high quality one. I mean, apart the source. I mean, apart the QRNG creation. So yeah, I totally agree with the previous panelists.
Thank you, Tommaso. And as you guys, this is a very, very good challenge. Janet, did you want to add to that?
I do, just kind of from our perspective on the electric and communication side as a utility. I noticed that one of the participant, had wrote down a concern about bringing down the electric grid, which is, I agree. And that's the reason why our company got into the quantum space is we had no experience. We didn't know anything about quantum prior to 2016. And so when we had the opportunity to work on the DOE projects with other partners that really made sense, we wanted to learn and understand, what is that space? How can that help the utility sector? And then from that QKD project, launched the idea of building a commercially available network so that we can offer companies an opportunity to be able to test their products, be able to test and learn more from it. And we're learning every day on our own network on how to improve, how to expand that. And the key point out of that is helping us learn, but also partner with people who have different strengths to help make the system, the network, more secure and better.
Certainly, Janet. Absolutely. That's the partnership in a quantum networking is a very crucial thing, as it is a very, very diverse concept that covers from both hardware and software. Before we pass it to other panelists, I wanted to double check with Jasmine one more time. How much more, Jasmine, we have left?
We have about 12 minutes.
Well, fantastic. Does anybody else want to add to this before we move to the last question? We cover it, and I appreciate your inputs. This is very, very great topic. And as the last question, as quantum technology has grown and the need for a skilled professional in quantum security and cryptography is increasing, and what the specific skills are lacking in current workforce in your perspective, and how can we, meaning initiatives such as QED-C or other programs, can train a new workforce and a certificate program to meet the needs effectively? What is your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say I feel like, to me, what we're seeing right now in the industry is a transition similar to what we saw from vacuum tubes to semiconductors, silicon, transistors, diodes, all of that. It's transformational. Some of the concepts are the same, but there's a lot that's different, especially when you look at the space that we're in, which is entanglement-based quantum networking, which is purely quantum physics, quantum mechanics principles, all of those things. So it's also reminds me a little bit of the transition from TDM, time division, multiplexing, voice, and telephony to voice over IP telephony, unified communications, that transition, which was an opportunity for a lot of people, a lot of professionals in the datacom area to learn about telecom, and the telecom area to learn about datacom. Today, we take all that for granted. It's all merged and meshed together. So I feel like what we're seeing is that people that are most successful in this area right now are the ones that have been studying quantum physics, quantum mechanics. It's a lot of the scientists. We're seeing a lot of those folks really come in and add tremendous value, almost instantly in the space. So understanding that, I feel like is important. And the more that we can encourage that to occur, it's where the puck is going. It's absolutely the future. EPB is great at this. Out in their regional area, they're actually funding and hosting and teaching a lot of these things already. That might be something to replicate in other areas of the country also. So I feel like that's probably one of the biggest things. And there's a lot of applicability between classical networking, for example, and quantum networking. But there's a lot of differences also. There's so many new protocols. We talked a lot about them, here that are used. There's things like entanglement, there's fidelity, there's qubit error rates. Like, who's ever heard of that before? We're used to bit error rates. We've been looking at those for 40 years. So there's a whole new set of things that need to be understood in this new realm. It's exciting, and it's absolutely kind of a great area to invest in. I'd use EPB as a model for that.
Certainly. Thank you, Mike. Any other thoughts add to Mike's comment?
This is a tough one. I think we're too early for certifications and formal certifications and training, because we're really at the tip of the spear and solving a problem that might not have, we don't know the perfect solution yet. And those should come maybe after we figure out what that solution is. For now, I find that people that understand the problem and are passionate about it are the most effective in this industry, because it does take there the unknowns and the frustrations of trying and getting something wrong, or trying and not being able to integrate. It really does take a dedication to really solving the problem. And we've been around in the tech world, and really security takes a backseat. It's something that you've had to do for compliance, and it's tedious, and it's not the fun part of building systems. I'm noticing a shift because quantum is exciting and new, and I'm seeing a lot of people like with growing passion for this industry, and I think those people will take us far. And it's because of their drive and motivation more so than what they know. So I think it starts with that, the passion and motivation, and then we solve the problem together, and then the formal education and training comes after that.
Yeah, to
Thank you, Kenny.
add to
Appreciate
that,
it. Go ahead, Richard.
to add to that is cryptography in general has been such a complex topic, right? And so people are not very favorable to either be part of this industry or in general be interested in the problem that it's solving. As long as they have that little lockbox on their secure session compatibility, interoperability, everything goes fine, they're on about their day. So what, as Kenny put it, what I've noticed and we've noticed here is the idea of quantum being associated with cryptography is now new and novel. And so you will see a lot more people be interested in the newer problems. How do we then facilitate their training and their education and onboarding? I really do believe that it's going to come down to centers of excellence within the companies to actually drive innovation and migration, adoption, readiness in the quantum security space, as well as start onboarding newer workers, newer skilled workers, early graduates, in fact, who are interested in quantum, PhDs from quantum mechanics to come start working on cryptography as a problem statement. I think these would be fantastic opportunities with centers of excellence, of course, with partners coming together to actually solve a problem, make it a little bit more easier to start adopting these solutions and then say, well, here's the problem and here's how we've automated a solution for you. So I do think for vendors coming together, industry coming together would also be a key piece besides the center of excellence.
Thank you, Richard. I totally agree. There's a very, very unique input that you have. And on the hardware side, I wanted to add to it personally myself. It's a very, very unique field, and it has combination of both interdisciplinary skill that requires, in addition to the fundamentals, and that many programs and that needs to look at what is the direction the industry is leading and what the fundamental that academics can address that. So hopefully a combination of that can fill up the gaps that currently for both hardware and software, especially to our topic of quantum security, would be tackled hopefully soon. Any other thoughts from other panelists?
Yeah, I was just going to say that this is a very hard field, right? Quantum mechanics. You're looking at the guys in the movie Oppenheimer, right? This is the type of people in this field, quite literally. And when you ask one of these PhDs, which I'm not one of them, but when you ask one of them about it, they'll tell you anybody who says they understand quantum mechanics doesn't really understand it, because it's unfathomable to the human mind. And when that's your starting point, it's a tough hill to climb in order to really get a wide range of comfort and education out there. But it's certainly something that we as an industry need to strive for. But it is very challenging. And I think from the vendor side, we need to make it as easy and as accessible to people so they don't have to be an expert to solve it. And I've seen in the last year going from 3 or 4 meetings with a room full of PhDs in order to explain what we do to being able to do it in a 15 or 20-minute meeting with IT people. And it's a constant battle to simplify it in ways that don't obscure the important points.
Thank you, Roy. Certainly, I totally agree. Go ahead, Janet.
Yeah, and just to kind of add on to all the panels, touched on the point really well. And thank you, Mike, for your comments about EPB's training there. But I think it's important that we focus on both the fundamental and applied science. And I think a lot of times now we're looking more towards the applied and somewhat neglect and forget the fundamental side of that. I think that's where Mike was bringing that point there, that you could have certification program, which is needed, definitely. But someone who learns how to program or build website and the best of these website or web pages can be fully employed for their whole career without actually understanding how a computer microprocessor works or the physics or engineering behind it. And so generally speaking, almost always the exploits you find in the cybersecurity world relates back to kind of the first principles around how do things work or how do they actually operate. And so I think it's not neglecting one or the other, but making sure that we still have the fundamental science along with the applied sciences to go there.
I appreciate that.
One last observation I would make relative to especially I would say the workforce. I'm in Silicon Valley. I've been here all my life in technology for decades. I think one very exciting thing that I've observed with quantum networking and quantum technology and quantum physics and the application of all that is the number of women that are in this field. I've never seen the concentration of females that are scientists, that are physicists, that are engineers, that are founding companies, that are running companies, that are entrepreneurs, and that really, really excites me. I mean, I have a mom, I've got a wife, I've got a daughter, and I want to see my daughter, be successful in a technology area, a science area like this. So that I think is something we want to continue to encourage. It's happening. How do we kind of make that? How do we make that even broader and more open for people to participate in?
Absolutely, Mike. Certainly agree. I think diversity is very important. And we look at you have definitely been in industry much longer, but the key success is using the brightest mind on both women and men's side. Together, that's where it allows the industry to thrive, the field to grow, because when you combine the two different mindsets and how basically people from different background and experience combine together, that will allow the success in a technology as complex as quantum technology. Totally great point, Mike. Tommaso, did you have any inputs on this? Wanted to add, a panelist, great, provided very, very thorough detail. Appreciate that. But we wanted to finish off if you wanted to add anything to this.
I think that everyone gave a great survey of what it is needed. Just to give an example of what we are doing in Italy, just to give, ideas. Let's say that we are making a lot of short courses added on the normal university studies, like master short degrees on some of the topics of the real big topics of quantum technologies. So it's a way of interesting some other kind of skilled person to approach the quantum topics, and to give them a lot of examples, a lot of use cases, a lot of vertical market, because we have to think that at the end we have to sell these kind of things, and it is really, really important to show them, to the students and to the professionals, what are the real final application. This is my point.
Yeah, great, Tommaso. Thank you so much. And thank you again for all panelists for addressing all the questions. I appreciate your input. I have just one slide. I wanted to finish off. Again, thank you again, all the panelists participating. So this session will be recorded and is already recorded and will be posted on a YouTube channel on Quantum Marketplace. Feel free to check that out later. And I wanted to again mention about the other activities that QED-C is doing. So basically part of enabling technology tech, and there are other tech activities. Feel free to at their agenda and initiatives. And I'm very excited that Toptica basically allowed me to be part of the this enabling technology tag. And if you are interested to also learn more about hardware quantum technology, and especially on a quantum laser side, feel free to check out the links below. And thank you all again, and looking forward to the following quantum marketplace. And have a great day.